Hello there, friend. Just finishing meditation today, and I feel compelled to share with you a few words around the post that I put up last evening. I stand by it fully that violence is never the answer, especially murderous violence. It's never the answer. It's not ever a good choice. It happens, but it's not ever a good choice. And let me share with you where I'm coming from with that. That although I believe that Charlie Kirk was not a representative of Jesus Christ, I do believe he was a representative of white evangelicalism, evangelical Christianity, and I believe that he believed in some way that he was accurate in the way he saw the world. I disagree with nearly everything he believed. And I do believe that he was an advocate who was endeavoring to take away human rights from whole groups of people. So in that regard, I completely oppose the message of Charlie Kirk. I don't think that's a secret. I think all of you who follow, I say follow, some follow because you agree with or you're vibing with the frequency, and others follow because you're just not quite sure what I'm going to say next. Some follow because I'm a good point for you to be angry about. All of those belong in some way, and that's okay. So I need to, and I wish I didn't even have to do this, I need to explain to you that just because I call for peace and for love and for joy, and I call for nonviolence, it does not mean that I support the character who was harmed. I did the same thing when the supposed attempt on Donald Trump's life occurred. I don't believe that it was actually a real assassination. I do believe that it was staged. I absolutely believe that. And for some, you think that that's crazy or conspiracy. And honestly, a few years ago, I would have probably said the same thing about me. But because of the way things are happening in the world now, I'm less likely to jump to conclusions that it's just a conspiracy theory. I believe it worked in his favor, and it made people really feel sorry for him. I don't feel sorry for Donald Trump. I believe that Donald Trump is a narcissistic, sociopathic individual who desires to rule the world. That's what I believe about him. I also know that the group that I grew up in white evangelical church, wants to rule the world. Now, they wouldn't say it that way. They would believe it in some way a righteous reign of Jesus Christ. But most of the beliefs in the church that I grew up in and the environment I grew up in is so far removed from Jesus that it's really sad that they still use the name of Jesus, because in my opinion, it's blasphemy when they do. But it does not mean that violence and murderous violence is ever okay. Now, am I disturbed by the fact that many of the evangelicals who still are friends with me in social media, although are not friends with me in person to person, does it disturb me that they are ranting and railing about the death of Charlie Kirk and yet ignore the shooting deaths of children in schools, and that his face was blasted all over the news, but no one even knows the names of the children who were shot around the very same time in Denver, Colorado? Does that bother me? Yeah, it does. And it also reminds me that we are a society that has in some way decided to spiral down the toilet of one personality or another being more important. We've lost our humanity, and the evangelical church is leading that charge. But I still don't believe that violence is the answer. Yes, Charlie Kirk was, in my opinion, a racist, bigoted, arrogant human being who also very much believed that he was accurate. And this is the problem. He believed he was right. And so do many of you who are watching this. You believe you're right about your belief system. I do too. I'm with you on that. However, we must return to a space of humility enough to realize that I may not be right about everything I believe, and be humble enough to be open to love and to compassion. And so during this season where I believe this is a turning point, it's ironic. My friend Larry Reed pointed this out on his program last evening. He was the president of an organization called Turning Point. I do believe this is a turning point. Although I don't wish to see, honestly, the turn we've just taken. Because I had hoped in my heart that we as a society could wake up before violence ensued. But here we are. And the question is not whether you will be a Republican or a Democrat, whether you will be a conservative or a liberal. The question is, with what is occurring now and what we're about to go into, will you be human divinity? Will you choose humanity over politics? Will you choose humans over party? Will you choose love over theology and doctrine, dogma and religion? I implore you to think about what you're thinking about. If we celebrate the murder of anyone, we have to question what has happened to our humanity. So on today, September 11th, we say we remember, but do we? Do we remember what carnage looks like? Do we remember what the pain of loss and violence looks like? What it costs us? Today is the day we remember people who lost their lives on 9/11. Today is a day we need to remember that the loss of any human should grieve us. And it does grieve the source, the I Am, the Father, the Mother God. I'm asking you to lay your party weapons down. And I'll do the same, so that we can find a way to come together, to heal, and to turn the ship called the United States of America before it becomes known in the future as the Titanic, and maybe it's too late. Maybe it needs to dissolve and die. I'm fine with that if that's the case. But if you're listening to the sound of my voice, I'm asking you to consider compassion over all of your beliefs. I'm doing the same. I'm questioning my motives. I'm questioning how much my beliefs about politics, about Donald Trump, about white evangelicalism, about the conservative movement that, in my opinion, I feel is a facade. It's a power grab. But I'm questioning myself today. And I'm trying to look at the world through the eyes of compassion. Not the eyes of John Scott, progressive person who knows I was raised in a cultic environment and yet still love the people I was raised with. That although the system is twisted and manipulative, the people matter. Charlie Kirk mattered. His family, they matter. The children who were shot in Denver, they matter. The children in the Catholic school last week, they matter. The people who are being stolen off the streets and human trafficked in the name of law and order, they matter. The gay, lesbian, transgender individual that lives down your street that you don't understand, they matter. The Christian matters. The Buddhist matters. The Hindu matters. The Muslim matters. The Jew matters. The Black, the Asian, the Latino, the Caucasian. They all matter. And what are we going to do? Will we continue to spiral down the toilet and be flushed into the history repeated? Or will we make a turn? The choice is always mine and yours. Peace is possible. I still believe it.